The massive space station called Sanctuary Prime floated peacefully in the empty darkness between two dying stars. Its crystal walls sparkled with soft blue light, casting gentle shadows across the diplomatic chambers inside. This was neutral ground, a place where even the most bitter enemies could meet safely. Today, representatives from two of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations sat across from each other in the main conference room. The war between the Zephyrian Empire and the Korthok Coalition had been going on for 3 long years. Millions of soldiers had died. Entire planets had been burned to ash. Both sides were tired of fighting. Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrians adjusted his formal robes and clicked his sharp claws against the metal table. His insect-like face showed no emotion, but his compound eyes reflected the room's lights like tiny mirrors. Across from him sat war philosopher Graithos, a massive creature covered in thick gray skin and battle scars. His people, the Korthok, believed that strength was the only truth in the universe. Between them floated an ethereal, one of the ancient beings who had agreed to help with the peace talks. The ethereal looked like living crystal, its body shifting. Between blue and silver light, these creatures were older than most civilizations and were known throughout the galaxy for their wisdom and fairness. "We have gathered here today to end the suffering," the ethereal said, its voice sounding like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. 3 years of war have brought nothing but death and destruction. It is time for peace." Veltar leaned forward, his translator device humming softly. "The Zephyrian Empire is willing to discuss terms, but we will not give up what is rightfully ours. The Outer Rim territories have been ours for generations." Graithos slammed his massive fist on the table, making the water glasses jump. "Those worlds were conquered with Korthok blood. We took them in fair combat. We will not surrender what we have earned through strength and honor." The ethereal's form pulsed with calming energy. "Both sides have valid claims. Perhaps we can find a solution that honors your sacrifices while bringing peace to the galaxy." For the next several hours, the 3 beings discussed star charts and territorial boundaries. They talked about trade routes and mining rights. They argued about which planets would belong to which empire. The ethereal mediator tried to find common ground, suggesting compromises that might work for both sides. The Zephyrians wanted to keep their manufacturing worlds, the shipping lanes that connected them. The Korthok demanded the mineral-rich systems they had captured during the war. Neither side was willing to give up very much. The buffer zones could remain uninhabited, the ethereal suggested, projecting a holographic map of the disputed territory. These empty systems could serve as neutral space between your empires. "Acceptable," Veltar clicked. "As long as we maintain patrol rights, the Korthok do not need patrol rights in empty space," Graithos rumbled. "Yes, but we will not allow Zephyrian ships to pass through our territory." The negotiations continued as the artificial day cycle dimmed to evening. Both sides seemed genuinely interested in finding a solution. The war had been expensive for everyone. The Zephyrians had lost their most productive factory worlds. The Korthok had seen their best warriors die in pointless battles. Even the winners would be losers if the fighting continued. Outside the conference room, the space station's sensors quietly monitored the surrounding star system. Everything appeared normal. A few small asteroids drifted past. Some background radiation from the dying stars created pretty light patterns. The defense systems remained at their lowest alert level. The night shift took over the monitoring stations. Lieutenant Yaxalon, a young ethereal technician, reviewed the sensor logs from the day. Nothing unusual had happened. A few small gravity fluctuations near the system's edge. But that was normal near dying stars. Back in the conference room, the talks were making progress. The ethereal mediator had suggested a plan that might actually work. The Zephyrians would keep their core worlds and main trade routes. The Korthok would hold on to their conquered territories, but agree to pay some compensation for the damage they had caused. Both sides would establish a neutral zone in the disputed areas. "This could be the foundation for lasting peace," the ethereal said, its crystalline form glowing brighter with hope. "If we can agree on these basic principles, we can work out the details over the coming days." Cade Feltar consulted with his advisors through a secure communication link. After a few minutes, he nodded. The Zephyrian Empire can accept these terms as a starting point for detailed negotiations. Graithos was quiet for a long moment, thinking. His people respected strength, but they also understood that sometimes the strongest choice was to stop fighting. Finally, he spoke. The Korthok coalition agrees to continue these discussions. The Ethereal's form pulsed with satisfaction. Excellent. We will reconvene tomorrow to begin working on the specific details. As the three beings prepared to leave for the evening, none of them noticed the subtle changes in the space around. Sanctuary Prime. The gravity fluctuations were getting stronger. Something was coming. The warning alarms began screaming just as Ambassador Veltar was reviewing the morning's negotiation notes. The sharp, piercing sound echoed through the crystal. Halls of Sanctuary Prime, making everyone freeze in place. Red lights flashed on every wall, and the peaceful blue glow of the station suddenly seemed much less comforting. Lieutenant Yaxalan rushed to his sensor station, his crystalline fingers dancing across the control panels. What he saw made his light form flicker with surprise. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace, he announced to the control room. 12 vessels, unknown configuration. On the main viewing screen, dark shapes appeared against the starfield. They were sleek and predatory-looking, like metal sharks swimming through space. The ships were smaller than the massive Zephyrian cruisers or the heavily armored Korthok battleships, but something about them felt dangerous. In the main conference room, where philosopher Grechthos stood up from his chair, his battle instincts immediately alert. Who dares interrupt these sacred negotiations? He growled, his massive hands reaching for weapons that weren't there. The ethereal mediator's form shifted to a worried orange color. The invitation list was very specific. No other species were supposed to know about these talks. Veltar's compound eyes reflected the flashing warning lights. Perhaps it's raiders, trying to take advantage of the situation while our fleets are here. On the bridge of the lead human ship, Admiral Lee Minho stood calmly watching the diplomatic station grow larger on his screen. He was a quiet man with gray hair and tired eyes, someone who had seen too many battles and lost too many friends. His uniform was simple and practical, without the fancy decorations that other species seemed to love. Sir, we're receiving multiple hail attempts, reported Lieutenant Park Ji-woo from the communications station. She was young but skilled, one of the new generation of officers who had trained specifically for this kind of mission. Let them talk first, Minho said softly. I want to hear what they have to say. The communication channel crackled to life. Veltar's voice came through, made metallic by the translator. Unknown vessels, you are entering neutral space during sacred peace negotiations. Identify yourselves and state your business. Grachthos' deeper voice followed. If you are here to cause trouble, know that both the Zephyrian Empire and Korthok Coalition are prepared to defend this station. Admiral Minho nodded to his communications officer. Open a channel. The response that came back was calm and polite, but somehow more unsettling than if it had been threatening. This is Admiral Lee Minho of the Terran Navy. We're here to participate in the peace negotiations. The silence that followed lasted for almost a full minute. Then both alien voices started talking at once. Humans have no business in galactic affairs. The Outer Rim primitives dare to interrupt civilized discussion. These talks are for real spacefaring species only. In the human fleet, Captain Choi Suman turned to Admiral Minho with a slight smile. They seem upset, sir. They should be, Minho replied. Lieutenant Commander Kim Yuna, what's our tactical situation? The intelligence officer checked her displays. Both fleets are powering up weapon systems, sir. 17 Zephyrian ships and 23 Korthok vessels. They're trying to box us in. Standard intimidation tactics, Minho observed. They want us to run away. Should we comply, sir? Lieutenant Park asked. Admiral Minho was quiet for a moment, thinking about the reports he had read. The destroyed colonies, the missing people, the mining operations that had wiped out entire human settlements because nobody had bothered to check if the planets were actually empty. No, he said finally. We're not going anywhere. Back on Sanctuary Prime, The ethereal mediator was trying to restore calm to the situation. Perhaps we should allow these humans to explain their presence before taking hostile action? There's nothing to explain, Veltar clicked angrily. Earth is a primitive world on the very edge of civilized space. They have no military power, no political standing, no right to be here, the Korthok agree. Grakthos rumbled. Send them away before they embarrass themselves. The human communication channel opened again. We understand your confusion, Admiral Minho said. We have legitimate interests in the outcome of these negotiations. We're not here to cause trouble, but we're also not leaving. You will leave. Veltar's translator made his words sound even more threatening. Or we will make you leave, sir. Lieutenant Commander Kim reported, both fleets are moving to attack positions. They're really going to try to force us out. Captain Suman checked. Her own displays? Our defensive systems are ready, Admiral. Should we prepare for combat? Admiral Minho looked out at the alien ships surrounding them. They were bigger and more numerous than the human fleet. In any normal situation, this would be a hopeless fight. But these weren't normal circumstances, and the human ships weren't normal either. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Defensive positions only. We're not here to start a war. He paused and looked at the tactical display showing all the alien weapons. Pointed at them. But if they want to see what Earth's children can do, we'll show them. The space around Sanctuary Prime suddenly felt much more dangerous. Admiral Lee Minho walked slowly through the corridors of his flagship, the UES Determination. The ship hummed quietly around him, its advanced systems running smoothly in the darkness of space. Unlike the bright decorations and fancy displays that other species loved, human ships were built for function. Every surface had a purpose. Every system was designed to work perfectly when it mattered most. He stopped at a secure door and placed his hand on the scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing his private office. Inside, holographic displays showed star charts, battle reports, and classified intelligence files. These were the documents that had brought them here, thousands of light years. From Earth, Minho sat down and activated the first file. The image showed a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green continents. Colony Hermes, he read aloud to the empty room. Population, 7,000. Primary industries, farming and mining. He pressed a button, and the image changed. Now the planet was gray and lifeless. Massive mining machines had torn apart the surface, leaving nothing but empty craters and poisoned soil. Korthok mining operation, day 47, the report continued. No survivors found. The Admiral's face remained calm, but his hands clenched into fists. The Korthok had thought they were mining an empty world. They had been wrong. 7,000 human colonists had died because the galaxy didn't even know they existed. He opened the next file. New Busan colony, he read. Population 15,000. Thriving agricultural settlement in the Outer Rim.
Nice.
The before picture showed fields of golden grain under an alien sun, with small cities scattered across the fertile plains. The after picture was worse than the first. The Zephyrians had used plasma bombardment to clear what their reports called invasive plant growth. They had been destroying human farms, human homes, human lives. 15,000 people had been killed because someone in the Zephyrian Empire had marked their world as uninhabited. Both sides did this, Minho said quietly. Both sides destroyed our colonies and killed our people, and they never even knew we were there. The door chimed softly and Captain Choi Su-men entered. She was younger than the Admiral, with sharp eyes and steady hands. Like most of the crew, she had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return home. The latest intelligence. Reports, sir, she said, placing a datapad on his desk. Our deep space monitoring stations have been tracking both fleets for months. They're planning to divide up the Outer Rim territories between themselves. Minho picked up the pad and scrolled through the information. Star charts showed the proposed new borders. Both the Zephyrian Empire and Korthok Coalition wanted to claim vast areas of space that included dozens of human colonies. If the peace treaty was signed as planned, humanity would lose everything they had built beyond Earth.
Nice.
17 of our worlds, he said, reading the summary. Nearly 200,000 colonists? They're planning to just ... take them? They don't think we can stop them, Suman replied. Earth's official fleet is just patrol boats and cargo ships. As far as they know, we're still stuck in one star system. The Admiral smiled slightly. That was the point. For decades, humanity had been very careful to look weak and primitive. Earth's official military was indeed just a small collection of outdated vessels. But Earth's real military was something else entirely. Have they detected our deep space facilities? He asked. Oh. Sir, the shipyards in the Tau Ceti system are still hidden. So are the listening posts and the research stations. They have no idea how far we've actually spread. Minho nodded and activated another file. This one showed technical specifications for the ships currently surrounding them. The human vessels were smaller than anything in the galactic standard, but they incorporated technology that no other species possessed. Adaptive AI systems, he read from the report. Quantum entanglement communications. Weapons that can reconfigure in real time. He looked up at Captain Suman. Are you confident in our capabilities? Absolutely, sir. Our ships are 50 years ahead of anything they have, maybe 100 years. The Admiral stood up and walked to the small window that looked out into space. He could see the alien fleets positioning themselves in attack formations. Hundreds of massive ships, each one carrying thousands of soldiers and enough firepower. To destroy a city, they think we're primitives, he said softly. They think Earth is just one small, backward planet with no real military power. Let them think that, Suman replied. It makes our job easier. Lieutenant Commander Kim Yuna's voice came through the ship's communication system. Admiral, both fleets are demanding that we leave immediately. They're threatening to open fire if we don't comply. Minho touched the communication panel. Tell them we're not leaving. Tell them we have business here.
Yes, sir.
The Admiral turned back to his files, but his mind was already focused on what came next. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was not primitive, not weak, and definitely not helpless. Earth's children had been expanding into space for generations, building colonies, developing new technologies, and preparing for the day when they would have to defend themselves. That day had arrived. Captain, he said quietly, signaled the fleet. Battle stations. The main conference room on Sanctuary Prime had never seen anything like this before. Admiral Lee Minho walked through the doors, flanked by Captain Choi, Suman, and Lieutenant Commander Kim Yuna. Their simple gray uniforms looking plain. Next to the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor of the other delegates, Ambassador Veltar S. compound eyes reflected the light as he watched the humans approach. His translator device hummed with irritation. This is completely against protocol. These talks are for legitimate galactic powers only. War philosopher Grakthos rose to his full height, towering over the human officers. His massive frame cast long shadows across the polished floor. The Korthok do not negotiate with children. Leave now, before you embarrass yourselves further. The ethereal mediator's crystalline form shifted to a worried orange color. Perhaps we should hear what they have to say before making hasty decisions. Minho said nothing. Instead, he walked calmly to the center of the room and activated a small holographic projector. The device hummed to life, filling the air above the conference table with three-dimensional images. The first image showed a peaceful farming colony. Green fields stretched to the horizon under a golden sun. Small cities dotted the landscape, connected by roads and railways. Children played in parks while their parents worked in the fields. This is Colony Hermes, Minho said quietly. 7,000 human settlers. They grew food and mined rare minerals. The image changed. Now the same planet was gray and lifeless. Massive Korthok mining machines had torn apart the surface, leaving nothing but empty craters and poisoned soil. Bodies lay scattered among the wreckage. Grakthos stepped backward, his eyes widening. Impossible. Our surveys showed that world was uninhabited. Your surveys were wrong, Captain Suman said. Her voice was steady, but there was anger underneath. 7,000 people died because you didn't bother to look carefully. The hologram shifted again, showing another colony. This one had been even larger, with sprawling cities and industrial complexes. Then the image changed to show the aftermath of Zephyrian plasma bombardment. Everything had been burned to ash. New Busan Colony, Lieutenant Commander Kim said. 15,000 civilians. Your people called them invasive plant growth in the official reports. Veltar's claws clicked nervously against the table. He had no knowledge of human settlements in those systems. Our exploration teams found no signs of intelligent life. Because you weren't looking for us, Admiral Minho replied. You assumed? We were still trapped on Earth. You'd never imagined we had spread to other worlds. The holographic display continued, showing colony after colony. Mining operations that had destroyed human settlements, plasma bombardments that had wiped out entire cities, resource extraction that had poisoned the air and water of inhabited worlds. Went to 2 colonies, Minho said. Nearly 200,000 people. Both of your empires have been killing our civilians for 3 years, and you never even knew we existed. The ethereal mediator's form pulsed with shock. This is ... This is a catastrophe. It's mass murder on an unimaginable scale. It was an accident. Grakthos protested. The Korthok do not make war on innocents. If we had known ... But you didn't know, Captain Suman interrupted. And now you're planning to divide up our territory between yourselves? The proposed peace treaty gives you legal claim to 17 more human worlds. Admiral Minho activated another display showing the draft treaty documents. The territorial boundaries were clearly marked, cutting right through human space. This treaty is signed? You'll legitimize the seizure of our colonies. You'll make the murder of our people legal under galactic law. The room fell silent. The weight of what they were seeing was enormous. Both galactic empires had been unknowingly committing genocide while they fought each other. Even if this is true, Veltar said finally, humanity lacks the military power to challenge our claims. Earth has no significant fleet, no advanced weapons, no political influence. That's what you think, Admiral Minho said. War philosopher Grakthos slammed his fist on the table again. Enough. The Korthok have heard your complaints. We'll consider compensation for the ... misunderstanding, but we will not be dictated to by primitives. Primitives? Lieutenant Commander Kim stepped forward. You want to see what Earth's primitives can do? Admiral Minho held up a hand, stopping her. That won't be necessary. He activated his communication device. Lieutenant Park, are you monitoring? This? Yes, sir, came the reply from the fleet. Target the old mining platform in Asteroid Belt 77 Alpha. The one that's been abandoned for 6 months? Sir, target acquired. It's about the size of a small moon. Fire. Through the conference room's windows, they could see a brief flash of light in the distance. Then nothing. Target eliminated, sir, Lieutenant Park reported. Grakthos rushed to the window, pressing his face against the crystal. Where the massive mining platform had been, there was now only empty space. No explosion. No debris. No trace that it had ever existed. Impossible, he whispered. Your turn to be impressed, Captain Suman said quietly. The entire room had gone silent. The demonstration had been simple but devastating. A structure the size of a small moon had been completely erased from existence in seconds. Ambassador? Veltar's translator clicked rapidly. What? What kind of weapon was that? Admiral Minho smiled for the first time since entering the room. The kind that makes negotiations much more civilized. The attack came at dawn, ship time. Hidden weapon platforms that had been disguised as diplomatic vessels suddenly revealed their true nature. Massive cannons emerged from fake cargo bays. Missile launchers unfolded from what had looked like communication arrays. The Zephyrian Empire had decided that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to leave alive. Admiral Lee Minho stood calmly on the bridge of the Determination as thousands of weapons fired at his fleet. Plasma bolts that could melt through battleship armor streaked through space toward his ships. Quantum torpedoes that could destroy entire city blocks exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Gravitational disruptors tried to tear the human vessels apart at the molecular level. Defensive systems responding, Lieutenant Commander Kim Yuna reported from her station. Her voice was steady and professional, as if she was discussing the weather instead of a massive space battle. Point defense networks are engaging all incoming threats. On the main screen, Admiral Minho watched the light show outside. Weapon fired at his fleet was being intercepted by smaller, faster projectiles. The human ships moved through the storm of enemy fire like dancers, their hulls never taking a single hit. "Damage report," he ordered. "No damage to any ship, sir," Captain Choi Suman replied. "Our shields aren't even being tested." The Zephyrian attack had been carefully planned, had brought enough firepower to destroy a small planet. Against any other fleet in the galaxy, it would have been overwhelming. But the human ships had been designed for exactly this kind of fight. Sir Lieutenant Park Ji-woo called from the communication station. "The Korthok fleet is powering up their weapons as well. They're moving to attack positions." Admiral Minho nodded. He had expected this. Once the shooting started, both alien empires would try to destroy the human fleet. They couldn't allow Earth's military capabilities to become known throughout the galaxy. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "Engage both enemy forces. Disable, don't destroy." The human response was swift and precise. 12 ships moved through space. Like predators, their weapon systems reconfiguring in real time to match the threats they faced. Energy beams that could cut through any armor struck enemy engines with surgical precision. Missiles that could change course mid-flight sought out weapon systems and communications arrays. War philosopher Graithos watched from the bridge of his flagship as his most powerful battleship suddenly went dead in space. Their engines were offline, their weapons were silent. Their communications were cut, but their life support systems continued to function perfectly. "How?" he whispered to his tactical officer. "How are they doing this?" "I don't know, sir. Our sensors can't even track their projectiles. They're using some kind of technology we've never seen before." The Zephyrian fleet was faring no better. Ambassador Veltar's command ship drifted helplessly as human weapons systematically dismantled its military capabilities. Every shot was perfectly placed. Every system that was targeted went offline immediately. "They're not trying to kill us," Veltar realized. "They're proving a point." In 17 minutes, it was over. The combined fleets of 2 galactic empires floated powerless in space, while 12 human ships circled them like wolves around a fallen deer. Not a single alien crew member had been killed, but both fleets were completely helpless. Back in the conference room on Sanctuary Prime, the mood had changed completely. The ethereal mediator's form pulsed with something that might have been respect. Ambassador Veltar sat quietly, his compound eyes reflecting the light from the windows. War philosopher Grechthos had taken his seat and was studying the human officers with the attention of a warrior, recognizing superior fighters. "The new treaty," Admiral Minho said, placing a datapad on the table, "includes full compensation for all destroyed human colonies. It recognizes Earth's territorial claims to the Outer Rim systems, and it grants humanity immediate membership in the Galactic Council." "And if we refuse?" Veltar asked quietly. Captain Suman smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. "Then we'll have this conversation again in 6 months, after you've had time to think about your options." The threat was clear. Earth's military was decades ahead of anything the galactic powers possessed. The human fleet could disable entire armadas without breaking a sweat. And unlike the aliens who announced their intentions and followed ancient protocols, humans were perfectly willing to fight dirty when necessary. "The Korthok accept these terms," Graithos said finally. "We respect strength, and you have proven yours beyond question." "The Zephyrian Empire also agrees," Veltar added. "We have no choice but to acknowledge the new reality." The ethereal mediator's form brightened. "Then let us proceed with the formal signing. This will be remembered as the day the galaxy entered a new age." As the various delegates began working on the final treaty documents, Admiral Minho activated his personal communication device. Lieutenant Park signaled the fleet. "Prepare for departure." "Hey, sir, shouldn't we stay to oversee the negotiations?" "No need," Minho replied. "They understand the situation now. They know we're watching. They know we can reach them anywhere in the galaxy. That's enough." The human fleet began forming up for the journey home, leaving behind two empires that would never again underestimate Earth's children. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the best way to ensure peace was to be too dangerous to fight. Humanity had announced its presence not through conquest or destruction, but through the simple demonstration that they were no longer helpless. The age of being ignored was over.